Imagine standing in a room where the wrong word could vaporize a city, where a single nervous twitch of a finger could end civilization as we know it. Now imagine that room existed not once, but dozens of times throughout the 20th century. And somehow, miraculously, catastrophically, we're still here to talk about it. Welcome to the knife's edge of human extinction, where the apocalypse was always just one paranoid general, one faulty computer chip, one sleep-deprived politician away from turning your grandparents into shadows burned into concrete. This isn't ancient history wrapped in cobwebs and dusty scrolls. This is recent enough that your parents might remember practicing those adorable duck and cover drills, as if hiding under a wooden desk would save you from a weapon that could turn entire cities into glass. The Cold War wasn't just a geopolitical chess game played by stern men in suits. It was a prolonged, methodical flirtation with oblivion, and the foreplay got incredibly close to the main event more times than anyone wants to admit. Let's start with a beautiful autumn day in 1961 in a divided Berlin that looked like someone had taken a saw to the middle of a city and decided half the population deserved freedom, while the other half got concrete barbed wire and the constant surveillance of a paranoid regime. The Berlin Wall had just gone up, and families were literally split down the middle, watching each other across a militarized wasteland that represented everything wrong with humanity, its ability to draw lines and kill over them. Then, an American diplomat tried to cross into East Berlin because apparently someone needed to test whether the Cold War could get any colder. East German guards stopped him, and the Americans, in their infinite wisdom, decided this was the perfect moment to roll tanks up to the checkpoint. Not just any tanks, mind you, but tanks loaded with ammunition, pointed directly at the communist side like giant metal middle fingers. The Soviets, never ones to be outdone in a display of suicidal machismo, sent their own tanks. For 16 agonizing hours, American and Soviet tanks sat face-to-face at checkpoint, Charlie guns loaded soldiers sweating. Despite the cold, every single person involved acutely aware that one nervous twitch, one misheard order, one bullet fired in anger or accident would start a war that would make World War II look like a minor disagreement over parking spaces. Think about that for a moment. 16 hours. Not 16 minutes. Not a tense standoff that fizzled after an hour when cooler heads prevailed. 16 full hours of tank crews staring at each other through gun sights, waiting for someone to blink first, or fire first, or do literally anything that would justify pulling the trigger. The distance between those tanks was measured in meters, not kilometers. Point-blank range where missing would be mathematically impossible, and where the first shot would mean instant retaliation and escalation into something nobody could control. Every soldier there knew they might be the person who accidentally started World War III. Can you imagine trying to hold your bladder during a 16-hour shift where moving wrong might end human civilization? This wasn't strategy at this point. This wasn't geopolitics or carefully calculated deterrence. This was pure, distilled insanity, the kind of collective madness that only makes sense when you remember that humans are really just anxious apes with access to weapons that can crack the planet like an egg. The truly horrifying part isn't just that this happened, it's that it almost didn't resolve peacefully. Kennedy and Khrushchev had to personally intervene, using back channels and diplomatic pressure to convince their respective military commanders to stand down. One Soviet tank pulled back a few meters, then an American tank matched the movement, and slowly, agonizingly, like watching a bomb being diffused in slow motion, the tanks withdrew. But here's the thing that should keep you up at night. This resolution required both leaders to be rational, communicative, and more interested in avoiding annihilation than in looking tough. Change any one of those variables, swap Kennedy or Khrushchev for someone more paranoid or aggressive or just having a worse day, and Checkpoint Charlie becomes ground zero for the apocalypse. The margin for error was non-existent. The safety net was made of wishes and diplomatic telephone calls, and yet somehow, impossibly, we survived. Not because the system worked, but because it didn't quite fail catastrophically enough. That's not reassuring. That's terrifying in a way that should fundamentally reshape how you view the luck involved in your own existence. But if you think Checkpoint Charlie was bad, let me introduce you to the night that should have ended everything. The night when one Soviet officer looked at his computer screen showing 5 American nuclear missiles heading toward Moscow and decided, against every protocol and training drill he'd ever received, to trust his gut instead of the technology. September 26, 1983. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov was sitting in a bunker near Moscow, monitoring satellite feeds that were supposed to give early warning of American nuclear launches. Just after midnight, alarms started screaming. The computers, these expensive, sophisticated machines that supposedly couldn't lie, showed an American intercontinental ballistic missile heading toward the Soviet Union. Then another. Then 3 more. 5 missiles total, all bearing down on Soviet territory, all carrying nuclear warheads, all representing the opening salvo of World War III. Soviet military doctrine was crystal clear. If America launches, you launch back immediately, because waiting means your missiles get destroyed in their silos and you lose the ability to retaliate. Launch on warning. Don't think, don't hesitate, don't wait for confirmation. The entire Soviet nuclear arsenal was built on the assumption that they would fire before American missiles hit, ensuring mutual destruction rather than one-sided annihilation. Petrov had minutes to make a decision. He could follow protocol, report the launch as real, and watch as Soviet leaders unleashed thousands of nuclear warheads in response. The casualties would be incomprehensible. Every major city in America and Europe would be erased. Soviet cities would be obliterated in the counterstrike. The nuclear winter that followed would kill most remaining life on the planet through starvation, radiation, and the complete collapse of global civilization. Or he could trust his instinct, which was screaming that something was wrong. 5 missiles didn't make sense for a first strike. America had thousands of nuclear weapons. If they were actually launching, it would be everything at once. A massive, overwhelming attack designed to cripple Soviet response capability. 5 missiles was too few, too cautious, not how you start a nuclear war if you're actually trying to win one. So Petrov, this man you've probably never heard of, this person who isn't in any history textbook your children will read, made a choice that saved your life and the lives of everyone you've ever loved. He reported the alarm as false. He bet everything, the entire future of humanity, on his gut feeling that the satellites were wrong. Those minutes waiting for confirmation must have been absolutely excruciating. Every second that passed was another second where American missiles might actually be in the air, getting closer to Soviet cities, making his decision to wait look catastrophically stupid. Petrov couldn't have been certain he was right. He was going against direct computer evidence, against military protocol, against everything he'd been trained to do. If he was wrong, Soviet cities would be destroyed without warning. Millions would die, and it would be his fault for hesitating. But if he followed orders and reported the launch as real, and it turned out to be a false alarm, he would have started a nuclear war over a computer glitch. Imagine holding that weight. Imagine knowing that your next action determines whether 8 billion future humans get to exist, or whether you become the man who accidentally ended the world. Finally, the ground radar data came back. No missiles. Nothing in the air. The satellites had been fooled by sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds, a technical malfunction so mundane it's almost insulting. Petrov had been right. Humanity survived because one man in a Soviet bunker decided to trust his instincts over technology, decided that maybe, just maybe, the computers were lying. The Soviet military didn't reward Petrov for saving the world. They interrogated him. They buried the incident in secrecy because admitting their early warning system had nearly started World War III would be embarrassing and would undermine confidence in Soviet technology. Petrov wasn't promoted, wasn't given medals, wasn't celebrated. He was quietly shuffled into retirement, and the world continued not knowing how close it had come to extinction. It wasn't until decades later, after the Cold War ended and Soviet records were declassified, that anyone outside a small circle of military officials learned what had happened. Petrov died in 2017, largely unknown, having spent most of his life as the man who saved humanity but couldn't tell anyone about it. And here's what should genuinely terrify you. This kind of near miss happened repeatedly throughout the Cold War. Checkpoint Charlie Stanislav Petrov. The Cuban Missile Crisis, where nuclear-armed Soviet submarines came within one officer's vote of launching. The Able Archer exercise, where Soviet forces actually began loading nuclear warheads onto aircraft because they thought NATO's war game was a real attack. Over and over again, we came to the edge, looked into the abyss, and somehow stumbled backward instead of forward. Not because of brilliant planning or foolproof systems, but because of individual people making the right choice under impossible pressure, often against orders, often against protocol, often with incomplete information and seconds to decide. We're not here because the system worked. We're here because it failed in ways that happened to be non-fatal. We survived the Cold War through a combination of dumb luck, individual heroism, and the fact that even paranoid dictators occasionally prefer living to winning. That's not a comforting thought. That's a reminder that human civilization has always been one bad day away from ending. And the only reason we're still here is that we've been extraordinarily, improbably, absurdly lucky so far.